Hi, my name is Wendy, and the topic I choose for my first assignment is Does women mature psychologically faster than men? Personally, I disagree with this assertion that girls mature psychologically faster than boys, as many evidence proves that psychological maturity and development between these two genders are insignificant. Here is the main objectives in my study of this topic to support my set of argument. The first source I choose is related to cognitive development. The purpose of the first study is to analyze gender difference in cognitive test performance among children from continuous age groups. The procedure of this study is normative data from 7 domains of the newly developed neuropsychological test. The ENA were used to conduct this study. The following 7 aspect domains of the ENA test spectrum we include in the analysis. The study conducted normative sources of 788 participants, 5 to 16 years old, elected from both private and public schools in Cambodia and Mexico. The result of this study supports the assumption that gender difference in language and other cognitive abilities are usually non-significant or very small. Indeed, gender differences were found only in 3 dominants: language, spatial abilities, and on several sensory perceptual tests, in all of which boys actually overperformed than girls. These results support the assumption that gender difference during cognitive development are minimal, appearing in only a small number of tests, and account for only a low percentage of the score variance. Thus, this literature contradicts with the statement that women mature psychologically faster than boys. This is the second source I choose. It aims to examine the social and emotional maturity of boys and girls during their adolescence period. The research study was done in 2009. It assessed and compared the social and emotional maturity of 277 random chosen adolescents from 3 schools in Canada. The key objective of this study is to investigate if statistical difference exists in social and emotional maturity of the response across gender. The information on the PowerPoint shows how social and emotional maturity is measured in this research. According to the composite social maturity score of the 277 respondents, none for either gender was extremely unstable, whereas majority of the boys and girls were found to be moderately stable. And 21% of boys and 18% of girls were unstable on social maturity. In terms of the components of social maturity, the result revealed that girls scored significantly higher on social adequacy component. Regarding the emotional maturity score, 56% of boys were found moderately emotionally mature and 55% of girls were extremely emotionally mature. Out of all the components of emotional maturity, boys was observed to score higher on the social judgment component of emotional maturity. However, no significant gender difference were observed on the overall composite social and emotional maturity scores. Social and emotional maturity was found to be significantly positive, correlated under both genders, as social and emotional is reciprocal, as an effort to develop one domain would automatically lead to development in another domain. On the whole, the literature contradicts with the statement that girls mature psychologically faster than boys. The third source I choose deals with a more distinctive side of psychological maturation, which is moral development. This source states that early adolescent girls are about 2 years ahead of early adolescent boys in their level of physical maturation. Physical maturation difference are paralleled by early adolescent sex difference in the maturation of cerebral cortical function, because cognitive development is associated with and restricted by brain development. Maturational difference in the fine-tuning of the cerebral cortex in early adolescence in turn predicts sex difference in some areas of intellectual cognitive functioning and moral development. To prove the theory above, the investigation in the study included 193 students who range in age from 11 to 14 years old. Students were drawn from the public school of a large Midwestern city. The moral maturity score was used in all direct analysis because it provides the best differentiation between students' levels of moral reasoning. Analysis of variance of moral maturity score indicate that the gender did have a significant effect on the child's moral reasoning. The mean level of moral development among females was significantly higher than among males. Results show that girls score higher than boys in stage of moral development, and that the pattern was not significantly changed by taking the adolescent background into consideration. This source supports the assertion that girls mature psychologically faster than boys. It in particular demonstrates strength for this assertion as it correlates the physical cognitive maturation with moral development, as it is a crucial component of overall psychological maturity. In terms of strengths and weaknesses of each source, source 1 is relatively the most reliable source out of 3 sources. It utilizes a neuroscience approach, and it has the biggest sample size and widest distribution out of all 3 sources, which increases its reliability. It has 788 participants over a large range age of children. One limitation of this study is that the dominance used as dependent measures cannot be considered to be underlined by unique cognitive factors as indicated by the factor analyzed. Future research should confirm no results of gender differences in cognitive tasks with unique underlying cognitive processes. The second source has a small sample size and a small distribution of respondents, as it's only from 3 schools. It has a total of 277 respondents and only 3 schools situated in Canada. Plus, the specific age of each respondent wasn't included in the article. Both scales used to measure social and emotional maturity are self-designed social demographic questionnaire, which is less trustworthy than the neuroscience approach used in source 2. However, each sample students were different questionnaires individually and was asked to fill the questionnaires there and then only under strict supervision of the investigator, which suggests that the study was completed under cautious and serious environment, which is a strength of the source as they reduce the respondent error to the smallest as they possibly can. Source 3 is relatively unreliable source compared to the first 2, as 950 questionnaires were initially distributed, but only 25% of the questionnaires was returned. The response rate is low and the number of questionnaires was complete improperly, reducing the sample to 190 students, which suggests that reliability of the source is low, and respondent error could most likely still exist in these 190 samples. The sample size is also relatively small due to the low response rate. One other limitation of this study was that it was not possible in this study to directly assess nutritional timing among subjects. Future studies among young adolescents could be strengthened by assessing nutritional timing in relation to moral judgment. Overall, through my study, I discovered that psychological maturity between gender is insignificant in all aspects, such as cognitive, social, and emotional. 2 of my sources contradicts with the assertion that girls mature psychologically faster than boys, and one of my sources supports this assertion. The results of the first study indicates that the gender difference during cognitive development are minimal, appearing only a small number of tests. And the second study shows that no significant difference was observed on the overall social and emotional performance. The last source suggests that girls score higher than boys in stage of moral development. However, the last source is relatively unreliable than the first 2 sources due to limited sample size and unreliable respondents' environment. One possible reason for the girls being more socially and emotionally acceptable than boys may be because of the gender structure of our culture. Girls and boys have different socialization patterns. Girls are taught to be more submissive, caring, and obedient, and are more mature adults, whereas boys are expected to be more active and aggressive, and tend to have limitations to express their feelings. This could contribute to one of the weaknesses of this assertion, as girls might seem to be psychologically more mature than boys, but it could likely just be because the gender expectations of the current society. In my opinion of the topic, even if gender difference do exist in various domains of life, inherent natural instincts should definitely not be overlooked. An effort can be made to create an environment for adolescents of both sexes to give equal opportunities and freedom to perform the duties of the society and nation without gender bias. Thank you.